Thanks for joining us here again at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're down to the final four, the Conference Championship. I say weekend, it's Conference Championship Sunday. We're down to the Eagles, the Commanders, the Chiefs and the Bills, playing off for the right to go to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans in 2 weeks' time. We've got two great matchups, and we're here as always to preview the games, share our best bets, complete our wonderful challenges, and we've got a great guest joining us as well. We've got Matt from the UK Bills and the Red, White and Buffalo Blue. I always get that wrong. Red, White and Buffalo Blue podcast joining us to talk about the Bills' chance against the Chiefs. But we'll preview the games before that. I'm, of course, as always, joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Joe and Byron. Gentlemen, we've only got 3 NFL games left before the end of the season. How are you feeling heading into Conference Championship Sunday?
Super Conference Championship Sunday, yeah, can't wait. 2 really good games, 4 really good teams. Washington, obviously, a big outsider from where we expected, but I think 3 of these 4, a lot of people probably could have predicted, but they've all, lived up to the hype all season. So, yeah, should be 2 really good games. Go Commanders.
Joe, you're currently dog sitting. You've got your hands full, but you still made it on the show. How are you? How excited are you for the Conference Championship games on Sunday?
Yeah, can't wait. It's both are exciting. Like you said, if I said there'll be 2 NFC East teams in the Conference Championship, you guys might have been excited at the start of the year. But obviously, Commanders have snuck in there. Well, stuck in there have risen to be a true contender. And then, the other one is the showdown of, 2 of the best 3 teams in the AFC, 2 superpower, 2 super houses, 2 great quarterbacks. And it feels like there's in general probably teams who we want to win, and then there's the villains as well. And it could be a repeat of 2 years ago, which would be 2 villains, or it could be a chance for 2 new teams who haven't been there for quite some time. So it's exciting, both of them.
Yeah, like we'd have said a few weeks ago that the NFC East would have, be 5, won't it? Because they're playing each other. So guaranteed 5 playoff wins, and the NFC North would have 0 playoff wins. That would have been quite surprising.
Yeah, NFC North really shit the bed this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, 5 could be 6. Like we'll see, could go 6-1 in the playoffs. The NFC East teams. What a run that would be potentially. Let's start there. I suppose that's the perfect tie-in. No, it's not. We've got other business to take care of. We've got some news. 2 hires and the firing that probably should have happened a couple of weeks ago. Should we start with the firing? Trent Baalke finally out as general manager, Jacksonville Jaguars. It was very weird that he was being kept on. So weird that the owner then told him if he needed to, he'd fire him to get the right hire as a coach. Looks like that's the path that they're going down. Joe, you just broke some news before we recorded. Do you want to share the Jags news?
Yeah, so it looks like the Bucs OC Liam Coen has gone to Jacksonville to have a second meeting with them. It seemed like he was out there running. He signed a big contract extension with the Bucs. He's reported that he's going to be the highest paid offensive coordinator. So, obviously he said to Khan, "I'm not coming if he's the GM." So they've got rid of him when he's, I understand why he'd go for it, but it's still a terrible management decision. How it's all played out, everyone could see it. It's like it was so obvious this was going to happen. But the fact that Liam Cohen's done that, it's it should be interesting. And sorry, I've just got a dog chewing my face off while we talk about Cohen. But that's the news. I think Byron, you mentioned something about the Bucs as well.
I mean, the Bucs are apparently trying to contact Cohen as we're ongoing, but he's just putting his phone on silent and not answering any calls from them. So very fun. And shout out Jacksonville, making Dallas look like the least organized organization in football. It was a close thing for a second there, but they finally realized they need to fire Trent Baalke, and there they go. And hello, Cash. for our YouTube viewers.
And what do we think, like, if it is going to be Liam Coen, quickly, obviously, I think he was obviously Rams offensive coordinator, dipped back into college, and obviously has had the year as the OC at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does this feel like someone who's just sort of rising? It feels a little bit quick, I don't know. Or do we think he's a bright star to kind of join those other young head coaches? I don't think he's even 40 yet.
Yeah, everything McVay touches turns to gold, right? Everyone speaks really highly of Liam Coen and has done for at least a year, as far as I can tell in the media. I think it's always worth the gamble, try and catch a shooting star and hope for the best. He's had incredible offensive production. With all Tampa's issues this year, with receivers going down, Bucky Irvin looking like one of the best backs in the league as a fourth round pick. Certainly not an early round pick. I would certainly give him the shot. I'd rather that than a retread, no offense, like Mike McCarthy, who will give you a baseline of competency. But I think if I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'd be delighted to see Liam Coen come in the building. Obviously, it's going to be important who he hires. I'm not sure what his network is like in terms of his coaching tree, starting early there with that one. But I think that'll be the crucial thing. They have more talent than their organization has shown, I think. But also getting Trent Baalke out will help you boost that talent pool, I would dare wager.
Fair. And let's talk about the two hires then quickly. So it's the two coordinators from the Detroit Lions. It's not even a week since their playoff loss, and both have taken up jobs. Funnily enough, neither one of them spoke to the Dallas Cowboys. Hey, didn't wait around to find out what Jerry had to say. Let's start with Aaron Glen as the most recent one, I guess. Aaron Glen's going to be going to the New York Jets. What do we think? We think that's a good fit. They're still searching for a GM. Do we think it's a good fit, Glen, in New York or Jersey or wherever the hell it is? East Rutherford.
On the East Coast over there,
yeah.
Again, I think it's a really good hire, Aaron Glen. You look at how that team stayed together on defense, again, with they were down to like 3 starters from the week 1, and to produce like they did through the end of the season. That is a man who kept his defense motivated, kept them together. You're signing players off the street on Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're starting on Sunday, playing meaningful snaps. You look at like how the Jets collapsed down the season. We've seen it a number of times with different teams over the years. If you have that buy-in from your players, obviously Dan Campbell is a huge culture leader in Detroit, but I think Aaron Glen has obviously contributed to that on defense. I think he's a good hire. I've seen that 9 of the last 9 Jets head coach hires, I think that's in this century, 8 of them have been first-time head coaches that are defensive. So that does strike to a bit of a pattern. So I think, again, getting the offensive play caller right is going to be huge there, as is also deciding what direction their offense is going in. Obviously, it's Aaron Rodgers right now, but who knows? Also, Devon Adams there. Like you said, they also need a GM there. So I think Aaron Glen might be not playing with quite as loaded a deck as some head coaches, but I think for the Jets, it's a good hire.
Yeah, obviously being an ex-Jet as well, he's got the the standing in there. So it could be like either way, like you said, with a new defense head coach who's a defensive side, it could go. What happened with Ryan's at the Texans when you bring in a good offensive coordinator, or it could go somewhere like Salah where his defense was amazing, but the offense was just shocking all the way through his time there. They never managed to fix that, so he's got to get the balance right. And what helped, obviously, the Texans was drafting CJ Stroud. That's usually all these head coaches are tied to the quarterback, so they need to sort that out and get someone in who, can run a good offense, because that's the only way he's really going to succeed. There's not many coaches who succeed with a average quarterback nowadays. So,
yeah. So Glenn, over to the Jets. His counterpart, so his opposite number in Detroit, Ben Johnson, after a lot of noise about him potentially landing with the Raiders, stayed in the division and is the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, widely regarded as kind of the hottest of the available coaches, especially the first-time head coaches. Do we think that's a good fit? He seems to be making the right noises already in Chicago, taking a couple of swipes at the Packers. Obviously, Bears fans love that. Do we think it's a good fit? And do we think he's going to be able to get the best out of Caleb Williams? Because that's ultimately going to define his success as the Chicago Bears head coach.
Again, I've said all this cycle, I think Ben Johnson's the hire that you want to make. From what he's done in Detroit, he's ballsy. From all accounts, he's holds people very accountable, which I think they need in Chicago, because I think that has been a culture issue. No new GM though, no new president. So, I think that's always been a bit of a top-down issue from Chicago, right down from the owner, of that lack of accountability and that lack of demanding the best of the best. I think Ben Johnson will try and push that, but that organization stay bad. But I think on the field, he's going to be great for Caleb Williams. A lot of people have kind of said they're not sure he's a scheme fit. Jared Goff sits in the pocket more and he's much more disciplined about what he does. I think you can get that through to a second-year quarterback who wants to be the best. Whatever else you want to say about Caleb Williams, holding on to the ball too much, I think that's almost because Caleb Williams is too much of a perfectionist. He's trying to make too many good plays. He maybe needs to rein that in, but I think Ben Johnson will tell him if he's not doing it right, certainly. I think it's a great hire. I think he's got the right attitude. I think his offensive scheme calling can't really be questioned. He's had great things to work with in Detroit. That is obviously worth saying. But the Bills aren't relevant. The Bears' skill room isn't exactly terrible. Cole Kmet's fine. DJ Moore's a great wide receiver. Rome Odunze, question mark, but he's a top 10 pick. He was very highly regarded coming out. He looks fine enough, certainly, in what was a bit of a shit show situation last year. O-line always needs work, but they have a nice early pick to address either another skill position, potentially running back, or O-line certainly is, like I said, always available. So, yeah, I think it's a good hire. I loved, I'm not sure if you've seen this on the Amon-Ra St. Brown's podcast, of their conversation upon leaving. Amon-Ra St. Brown said, "We're going to fuck you up twice a year." Ben Johnson said, "No, we're going to fuck you up twice a year." Exactly the attitude you want if you're the Bears.
Yeah, I think you're right. That call out, that O-line certainly is going to need a lot of work, because that's what's allowed Detroit to be able to do all those different things on offense. I think it's a huge part of their success. So yeah, I won't be surprised to see that first round pick spent on another O-lineman. They've already got one first round pick on that O-line already, haven't they, in Darnell Wright? So I won't be surprised to see another one joining him come April. And some free agent pickups as well, because that's going to be the basis of getting that right. How many times we saw Caleb Williams under pressure, how many times he get sacked early in the season in particular. Down the stretch, did a good job of not turning the ball over, but it came at a cost, I think, for the offensive. It just didn't move. So, yeah, lots of work to do for that. But, yeah, it's got the right again. But I've just got one worry for the Bears is Ryan Poles, is that GM piece. Obviously, he was in charge of the search. Yeah. They must have interviewed 25 people. And I know there's a bit of doing a thorough search and hiring process, but that was a bit extreme. That tells me they didn't know what they really wanted. And if that was the case, I'm kind of a bit surprised Ben Johnson went there. It just still doesn't feel like a great situation. And I'd be shocked if we're 12 months down the line and Ryan Poles is still general manager of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I'm just guessing that when you look at all the situations, though, like you mentioned that Raiders were one of the potentials, but it's who you working with? They're not going to get they're not going to get a quarterback this draft. It's going to be where they are, or if it's not one of the big ones. So you got to wait another year while you've got a number one, drafted quarterback, which is only been a year out, and he's obviously seen him and likes him. So why go to another team and try and get another, number one quarterback when you've already got one going there? And like you said, yeah, O-line's massive, going from probably the best O-line in the league to one of the worst. But you should adapt to everything, and yeah, fingers crossed it works out, because the Bears certainly need something to change, especially being in that division as well. That doesn't help, and it looks like he's hiring Dennis Allen. It's been rumored, which I think is a good hire. I think he's good. Yeah, he's a good defensive coach, and their defense dropped off last year, but I still think they've got the pieces. But overall, yeah, it's one of them things. I think it's great for the Bears, because I think I said in the summer, I was like, they're going to fire Matt Evans and they're going to get someone like a random washed up head coach, like what other teams are doing. Now that's what I felt like while the Bears normally do it. I don't mind Pete Carroll, but like for someone like that, so to get the number one, what everybody wants, that's one of the first times the Bears have actually done that. So hopefully, it turns into a Shanahan and McVay rather than like a Josh McDaniels, where it's a sought after OC to not doing it as well. So we'll see how he goes and becomes the head coach.
Yeah, so I think that leaves us. There's still 4 head coaching positions to fill. I think that's right, isn't it? Titans, Cowboys, Raiders, and Saints.
Yep.
So there's still
and
4.
Jags officially.
Oh, Jags. Sorry, there's 5. Yeah, sorry.
Well, we
5.
think that's Liam Coen. So
yeah. So yeah, obviously we'll keep on more if unless they drag on. I imagine we'll have some more appointments by the time we do the review episode on Monday, which we can address. Into the games. Let's start with the NFC because that's the game that's first on Sunday. So we'll do them in order. It's the Commanders. First time in the NFC Championship game for 33 years. 92, I think that's right, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
If my maths is right, yeah. 33 years up against the Eagles. Eagles were in the NFC Championship in the 2022 season and obviously went to the Super Bowl to get beat by the Chiefs. Commanders are 6-point underdogs in this one. Over-under is 47.5. Good timing, Byron. 47.5. Yeah, but Joe, let's start with you. Like, how are you seeing this one going between these two? NFC East matchup for the right to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting one. Obviously, they played a few weeks ago when Hurst went out with the concussion. It was tight at that point, but it felt like the Eagles were just getting on top when that happened, and the Commanders managed to win it at the end. So I think it's going to be a tight affair. I don't think it's going to be a crazy scoring game. I think it could be, close between them. I'm really leaning Washington. I don't know why. It just feels like the fairy tale should continue. And that Jaden Daniels is just, carries on his ascent, his rise and stake a claim for the best rookie season ever if he gets to the Super Bowl, because I don't think any has actually done it yet. So yeah, it's a big game for him. And yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a struggle just because how good this Eagles defense is. And I'm still worried about that running game for the Commanders. I still feel like it's on Daniel's shoulders. I know Brian Robinson stepped up last week, but I felt like that's just because the game was so open and they were doing what they wanted, that they weren't looking to stop the run. It was basically trying to just stop Jaden Daniels from throwing. So I still worry that side with how Jalen Carter's playing, Nolan Smith and the rest, and Zach Ball and all of them. So yes, I think it's going to be all on Daniel's shoulders for rushing and throwing as well. And I think if he can keep the Eagles close, I just can't see him blowing them away. It just feels like this Eagles teams don't blow teams away. Even when they were like, I would say when Baalke got that touchdown against the Rams and we thought the game was over, they somehow were scraping at the end to hold on for victory. So I think it's going to be a really tight affair.
Yeah, it's wild to think, obviously, we've mentioned it a lot, especially down the back end of the regular season, about the Commanders' rushing offense just completely just falling apart and it just being almost non-existent at times. They're the third most rushing yards per game in the regular season offense, 154 yards a game, just behind Philly and Baltimore during the regular season, which is mad, isn't it? To think the last kind of month, it was just non-existent, that rush game. So crazy how that works out. I'm with you. I think this might be tight. That seems to be where all the money's gone. A lot of the money's gone on the under. I think we are over 80% of the bets, over 8% of the money, 87% of the bets, and 84% of the money's on under 47.5. I think it's a big number as well, 47.5. I think for this one, you think obviously Philly are going to take a lot of time out of the game. With their rushing attack, I'm on the Philly special again. I call it the Philly special, it's not think. The over rush attempts, over team rush yards, over team rush touchdowns on Barkley, over 130. That's risen a lot. Over 130.5 rush yards, 1.5 team touchdowns, 180.5 rush yards, and 35.5 rush attempts. I'm real worried about how hurt Hurts is. He got so banged up again in that game last week. So I don't know how much he can do. He's going to be playing, obviously, of course he is. But I'm just worried that knee. Obviously, had a brace on it at points in the second half of that game. I think he's a lot more banged up than maybe letting on. So yeah, I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Saquon anyway. I think we're going to see maybe 10, 15, 20% more on them. Can the Commanders stop it? They struggle to, especially the first meeting when obviously everyone was fit. Certainly, Hurts wasn't stuff that kind of Baalke took over that game in the second half earlier in the season. So yeah, I love the Philly special bet. I also love the Commanders to keep it close. Just the way they're going, they can score quickly. I think we've seen that enough. And they just do tend to be in very, very close games. So many one-possession games, so many of them games where they've nicked him in the last kind of 30 seconds a game. So I think they can keep it close. And I'm interested to see if Quinny Mitchell's going to play as well. I think he probably is. But again, he took a big shot to the shoulder, and that might be one that Terry McLaurin can take advantage of. Even though the Eagles have been phenomenal from a pass defense perspective. Byron, where are you at with it?
Yeah, so my first bet of the game, kind of out of order actually here for how I wanted to talk about them. I've done that in the wrong order. Each team scored a rushing and passing touchdown at plus 200. I was kind of surprised that was such a big price. I had to double check it when I placed it, truthfully. Like we said, there have been issues with Washington's rushing attack, but they could certainly get a rushing touchdown. That wouldn't be out of the realm. Jeremy McNichols is even sneaking one here and there. So why not? I think we just tick Philly. You tick that part of it off now. Philly get a rushing touchdown. That seems like a done. Whether it hurts touch pushing, more to the point, or the brotherly shove, whatever else we're calling it, or they just throw Kenny Pickett in there for something. Don't know what. Yeah, but plus 200, I think that's a really nice price for. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I was just kind of surprised it's not in each half or each quarter, just to get one each of each. And then the one I put on, I don't feel a bit ugly doing it, but yeah, Jane Daniels have 2 or more interceptions at plus 450. I love how Jane Daniels has played. He's been so poised. He's thrown only 9 interceptions on the year, but 3 of those have come in 2 games against the Eagles. Vic Fangio is a fucker, and he schemes up with the best of them. He's seen Daniels twice already. He has an incredibly talented defense. Those young DBs, obviously, I'm presuming Mitchell, like yourself, is going to play, even though he's not practicing yet. Ball hawks, especially Cooper DeJean. I don't want it. I want to see Commanders win this game. I just worry that if it gets close to getting away, it might have to be a bit of hero bally. And I think the Eagles are well set to pounce on that if it comes that way. And, we talked about the Washington Russian attack, but I do kind of feel like a slow game might suit both. Just because I truthfully think on, 1-11 on both sides of the ball, the Eagles are better. Jane Daniels is that X factor though that makes up for that entire thing. But I hate to see it, but I kind of can. It just gets away from Washington, and the Eagles just grind it out. And if they get a 2-score lead, even if it's just 10, this is just going to become an ugly grind fest from the Eagles. And I do think one of the things that we talked about on the review as being maybe pivotal coming into this game. Obviously, Sam Cosmi out for the season, torn ACL off for the season. Jesus. He's certainly not going to be playing this week, torn his ACL. That means you're rejigging that offensive line, which has performed better than some of its parts, obviously, this year. I don't think anyone thought that was going to be a league-leading line coming into the season. But they've held together really well. And I think what they're going to do is move the right tackle into right guard and then bring in a new right tackle. And against this Eagles D-line, any disruption is not good, essentially. And I can just imagine Jalen Carter against anybody who's not been playing the position all season and is not at the top of their game might be enjoying taking their lunch, essentially. So again, I really hope this is one that I don't cash. Essentially, the Jaden Daniels. Well, I mean, if it's has 2 interceptions and they win the game, I don't care. I'll take the cash, but I'd rather see Washington win than win the bet. I just kind of worry that we're going to see not a meltdown by any means, but just Washington have to play too much catch up and Philly come out of that successfully, essentially.
Yeah, it's obviously, you're right, being able to see him twice, the disruption on the O-line is a big factor, I think. We've said it, they need to get this rushing game going. I just don't think they're going to be able to do it against the Eagles. I think we saw in the second of the game, Jaden Daniels was able to use his legs. I think he ran for like 80 yards.
Yeah.
I think he's going to need to do that again, be able to kind of break out, find those rush lanes, but that needs the O-line to play really well to let that happen, for him to kind of make those decisions. And the Eagles played pretty well in obviously the first game against him, different in the second time. I think it was one as well. So they kept Lamar in check when they played the Ravens as well late on in the season. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think the Commanders can keep it close. I think it's going to be low scoring. And I think the Commanders can keep it close and keep it in a possession. And who knows, maybe the Cinderella story continues. Joe, you've got a couple of bets there. I don't think you shouted them out.
Yes, I've got Jaden Daniels anytime touchdown score at plus 200. Mainly just because, like I mentioned about the rushing, and he's going to have to use his legs, which I think he can. And I've got Zacchaeus to get 50 plus receiving yards. When they played the Eagles last time, he got 70. And then the 2 games after, he got 85 and 51. But in the playoffs, he's not done much. So he's only got 19 and 0 last week. So his odds have gone up to get 50 receiving yards at plus 500. And I just think with Mitchell's probably going to be on Terry McLaurin. Cooper DeJean's probably going to be on Brown. So that leaves one more to try and cover. And I think he had a really good game because I watched that game and I thought he was going to be their breakout star. I thought he was going to do what Diami Brown's done, but it hasn't quite gone from this playoff. So I think it could be his turn to shine. I do have some facts about why, even though I've gone the Commanders, why we shouldn't have with the history of, there's quite a few different things which, doesn't help that at all. First of all, rookie QBs. Excluding Kurt Warner, because technically I think he was, but people don't class him as. There's been 6 rookie QBs to start a conference championship. The previous 5 have gone 0-5 straight up with 4 passing touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So obviously not great for rookie QBs in the conference final.
I mean, Mark Sanchez was one of them, so come on. I mean, that's skewing those stats.
Do you want to know what the other 4 were then? If you want to guess.
Who the other 4 were?
Yeah.
I always want to say Big Ben, but I always forget if he got to a...
Yeah,
Big Ben was there, in 04. One was fairly recent. And he got injured during the game.
Oh, Purdy?
Yeah, Purdy.
Yeah.
So you got Sanchez.
Oh my God, that was rookie Purdy. I always forget that it was actually his rookie year.
Yeah.
That is wild. Sorry, yeah.
2 more. One in 2008 and one in 1999.
Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco?
Joe Flacco's a 2008. Yeah, he had 3 interceptions, 0 touchdown, then 199. It was Sean King.
Oh, I guess it was Sean King, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not great for rookie QBs, obviously going 0-5. Another interesting fact, the team's riding a 7-game win streak. So the Commanders have currently got the longest straight-up win streak. Going into the conference championship, they're 4-11 against the spread, which is not good. And teams who are the 6th seed, so just straight up in conference championship, they're 3-6. When they're +4 or higher, they're 0-4 against the spread and straight up as well. So it doesn't, and how good Eagles have been at home in the playoffs, especially under Hurts. It's all not looking good for the Commanders, but Jaden Daniels is a different beast to his rookie year compared to some of the others. Maybe Big Ben could be in that conversation, but he's certainly special.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, this is weird. We had this last week. These teams not really met in the playoffs that much. They've only met in the playoffs once before. Commanders won. Well, there wasn't the Commanders. The Washington team won in Philadelphia in January 1991, and the Commanders won in Philly as an underdog, not quite a 6-point underdog. Also, Eagles as big favourites at home don't cover. Doesn't mean they won't win. Don't cover that. So in their last 10 is a 6-point plus home favourite. Eagles are 2-7-1 against the spread. I like the Commanders plus 6. Don't necessarily like them to win the game, but I like them covering the 6.
Right, so it's a lot of fun NFL facts and trivia there. Would you like some pop music on there?
Go on.
The last time Washington won a championship game was January 12, 92. What was the UK or US or German number 1 at the time? It's 3 different songs, but they're all classics, so that's why I shout all 3 of them out. If you want to guess Canada's, go ahead, but it's nowhere near like the other 3. So January 92, you were just being conceived, Joe? Is that about right?
I was born. Oh,
you were 91. I always forget which was 91 or 92. I thought, your folks might be kicking it to one of these, to be fair. So that's what I was gonna.
January 1992. Give me, I don't know, something like New Kids on the Block. I don't think I know any New Kids on the Block records, but
I don't know if I do either, actually. But no, none of them are on this list. And Joe, you might be able to get actually the January 92, the UK one, because I think you've mentioned it before as being close to your birth. Now that you kind of mention it.
Oh, well, number 1 for mine was Black or White. Black or White. Michael Jackson. Is it? Let's go. Wet, Wet, Wet.
It's not, but the US and Australian number 1 was Michael Jackson, Black or White.
There you go. Got that one.
And what I was referencing was in the UK, it was Queen Borough.
Of course,
you mentioned Freddie Mercury passing away just after you were born or around the time. I can't remember the exacts of it.
Yeah.
And what I was getting at with the old folks was in Germany, the number 1 to see in the new year, classic German style was Salt and Pepper. Let's talk about sex. So,
and also, so the Bohemian Rhapsody would have been when Wayne's World was released in 92. As well.
Oh, nice, great shout. And hopefully your parents weren't saying what Genesis number 1 was in Canada at that time. No Son of Mine. Like I said, not as good as the other 3. So.
No, yeah, definitely not. Cool, good stuff. Any more shout-outs on Commanders, Eagles before we move on? I've got some pop trivia for our next game as well. So, if you've not prepped it, Byron, then you might be able to take part in this one. Bills. Chiefs, Buffalo Bills on the road, 1.5-point underdogs in the AFC Championship against the reigning, defending, 2-time, back-to-back Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Doesn't get old doing that. Where's that from? I feel like I've stolen that from somebody. It's not the specific thing, but
it feels like a Michael Buffer type thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's boxing. Maybe it's wrestling. I don't know, but yeah. It sounds good, doesn't it? Anyway, Chiefs looking for 3 in a row. They host the Bills, AFC Championship. Bills 1.5-point underdogs. Over-under is the same, 47.5. Can the Bills do it? Can Josh Allen defeat the bad man when it matters most?
Certainly can. Will he? Who knows? But he certainly can. Well, he hasn't yet, right? 0-3 in the playoffs?
Yeah. Chiefs have won the last 3 playoff meetings. They've both been with Allen for the Bills and Mahomes for the Chiefs, going 3-0 ATS, and the over's also 3-0 in those games as well. 2 in Kansas, 1 in Buffalo. And then on the flip side of that, the Bills have won the last 4 regular season meetings between the 2. Again, both with Allen and Mahomes, going 4-0 ATS. 3 of those in Kansas, 1 of those in Buffalo.
And we are in Kansas, Toto. So, I think this is obviously great matchup. Spread is only 1.5. I think pick your poison here. I think on the balance of the season, you'd say the Bills have been the more exciting team, but the Chiefs just win, and they just win, and they just win, and they just win. My bets for this game, I've gone Mahomes and Allen to have 40-plus rushing yards at plus 340. These guys can both scramble anytime they want anyway. They're both really good rushers. They're both really intelligent rushers. Sometimes they use their rushing to try and draw a flag, so I hear. But crucially, when it gets to the business end of the season, they are so good at extending plays and just running for those 20 yards on 3rd and 8, they just find that little crease and just take off and go. You can't stop Josh Allen running. You just can't. And Patrick Mahomes is more selective, I feel, about when he does it. But when he does it, he breaks the spine of your defense and just ruins all the momentum you've just built up on the first 2 downs of getting him, stopping passes being completed, banging the run game up. And he just finds a way, always just sneak that extra first down out of you all the time. So, yeah, the 2 of them to get 40 plus rushing yards plus 340, I think is a really nice price on something that I think is very likely to happen. And my second bet, I've gone Noah Gray anytime touchdown. Simple as he scored 2 touchdowns last time they played. Their wide receivers have not got going a huge amount. Xavier Worthy accepted, but Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, the cast of characters after that, just haven't been a factor of late. So, yeah, I just think, give me Noah Gray, plus 425. He hasn't been the weapon he was mid-season. Travis Kelce obviously dominated in the postseason, but in what could be a very high-scoring game, give me someone who's done twice against his defense already at plus 425. I just think, again, nice little price on it.
Excellent. Joe, we've got similar bets. You've got one at bigger odds. Based around Travis Kelce?
Yeah, I've got Kelce, 100 plus receiving yards, 5 plus receptions, and anytime touchdown. I think the difference between mine and yours is the receiving yards. You've got 69.5. Yeah, like I've been saying last few weeks, the playoffs, the big boys stand up, and Kelce is the man for Kansas. I think how the Chiefs how the Bills defense is set up, I think Kelce can get plenty of yards. They're going to try and pressure Mahomes. I think that's the tactic they're going to try and do. They did it last week against Lamar Jackson. Obviously, it worked in the first half. So we'll see how it works against Mahomes, because I think when he's under pressure and if that O-line can stand up to it, it's going to be easy pickings for Mahomes and Kelce. We saw how much Andrews came on in the second half. Obviously, his 2 big mistakes, but he was still catching a lot of balls and, likely got a few as well. So I feel like tight ends can do some damage to this Buffalo Bills defense. And is already going to be a Hall of Famer, but this is just another game where he can just stamp or prove I'm the greatest tight end if he goes for 100 yards, gets a touchdown or 2, and KC go to the Super Bowl to get back to back to back. So it's a legacy kind of game, and I think he's going to step up. And I'm curious, it's one of them like weird, because there's been obviously talk about will he continue? Is he going to retire? If they go a 3-peat, that could be a good way to be like, peace out, I'm off. What else is there to do? So he'll want to play big, and he has that chip on his shoulder. So yeah, I think it's going to be a huge game for them. And with how the wide receivers have been playing, they're good for 1 or 2 catches, but there isn't that dominant, give me the ball kind of wide receiver. It is Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I say I've took a similar bet. Mine's just shorter odds, plus 250. I've just taken the over line at 69.5. 5 catches and anytime touchdown. I'm a little bit worried about the Bills' injuries on defense. And that, I think, might just open the door for the Chiefs. Rapp's not trained, not practiced with a hip injury. Matt Milano he's got hamstring injury. He was a limited participant in today's practice, Thursday. Milano's massive for them. He made key plays last week. He forced the interception with the pressure on Lamar, and he got the tip on
the 2-point conversion.
The first 2-point conversion, which obviously the way the game went was a massive play. So yeah, I'm worried for that if they potentially miss out, or one of those guys missed out, that I think the Chiefs might just have too much for them. I want the Bills to win. I'm sat on a Chiefs to win the AFC ticket and a Chiefs to win the Super Bowl ticket, but I want the Bills to win so bad. Sacrifice my personal gains from the Chiefs winning a 3rd Super Bowl in a row and however many AFC championships it is. Then yeah, I'll do it for the benefit of everybody else of getting Buffalo to a Super Bowl. I've got some other concerns for Buffalo in this one, just more historical ones. Any guys have any idea when the last time the Buffalo Bills won a road playoff game was?
I think it was January. I have nothing after that though. Probably January.
1990.
I got 93.
1993, yeah. January 1993. It's been 32 years since the Buffalo Bills have won a road playoff game.
That's insane.
And I know they've
been good.
Yeah. I know there's a huge chunk of that where they obviously weren't in the playoffs.
Yeah.
18 of those years until Tyrod Taylor got them back in the playoffs with some help from Andy Dalton. But in that time, they've only won playoff games at home.
That's mad. I can't believe that.
And, pop quiz question, the last time the Buffalo Bills won a road playoff game was, as I mentioned, January 1993. It was the 17th of January 1993. What was the UK number one? It is an absolute banger. And it was discussed during one of our drafts, our off-season drafts.
Ooh.
This song is a clue.
Is it Whitney Houston? With the Bodyguard song, I Will Always Love You.
It is Whitney Houston with I Will Always Love You. Partway through the 10 weeks it spent at number one, and I was bashed for taking that in the first round of our greatest covers draft.
That is absolutely outstanding, Joe. Great performance.
Yeah, well done, Joe. Yes, it was Whitney Houston. They're on an 0-7 run since then on road playoff games, which is out wild. The Bills' last playoff win versus the Chiefs was in January, unsurprisingly, 1994. So a year later, at home in Buffalo. What was the UK number one on the 23rd of January, 1994? Also an absolute banger.
Well, I know what it was on 30th of January 1994 in the Super Bowl, so I'm not going to answer because there's a good chance it's the same
Could
song.
be the same song, yeah.
So,
Come on, Joe.
94. I struggle with like early to mid 90s. What was it? Blur?
It wasn't. No, it's a good guess. I think it might have just been a bit too early for Blur in the chat.
Yeah, I did think that. Who was it then?
Byron, do you want to take what you think it might be?
On 30th of January 1994, so I was going to say when the Bills were playing in the Super Bowl, what was the UK number one? Was D-Ream, Things Can Only Get Better. 2 weeks in a row, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. This is one of my favourite childhood memories growing up. So I'm obviously nowhere near as young as Joe. I was 9 at the time. 9, 8, 9, something like that. I was born in 85. Someone else can do the maths. And we were going to Flamingo Land, I believe, on a really snowy day. Don't know why. And we were going over, I think it's called Kirkston Pass, like the back way to get to it from Carlisle. And the car kind of spun out of control and like went off the road. Thankfully, we were all okay. And just as it's spinning out of control, you just hear, things can only get better. And my mom, who was, the most chill woman in the world, just like screamed at the radio / at my sister who's in the passenger seat, like, turn the radio off now. And it was just like looking at my brother like, okay, things ain't going too great here. Let's just shut the fuck up. But I just remember that moment, that like song just breaking in as the car's just like, it felt like something like Corey or something, like the car going off the rails and Brian Cox and the gang just bursting into song.
I always forget he was in Dream. Yeah, excellent. It is a great record. Absolutely fantastic record. Just reminds me of New Labour. But yeah. Anyway, we'll leave the politics chat for another time. Just some other bits. I'm sure, Joe, you've got a couple of stats for this one. But 5 of the last 6 Bills road games have hit the over. I think we might get a bit of a shootout in this one. Doesn't tend to be the case with, obviously, the Chiefs, and especially the Chiefs at home. Under is 5-1 in the last 6 home Chiefs playoff games. So 2 colliding, an over's road team and an under's home team. Chiefs are 13-2 at home in the playoffs, straight up with Patrick Mahomes. Absolutely insane. Only beaten by Brady and the Patriots in overtime and that magical Bengals Joe Burrow run in 2021. Chiefs have won 11 home games in a row. It's a very long streak. And they're 7-3 straight up and ATS when they're a close home favourite of 3 points or less. 2 of those losses were to the Buffalo Bills.
Must be the regular season.
In the regular season, yeah. Joe, what have you got for us?
Yes, so Josh Allen against good defenses. So when he faces a top defense, so those who are allowing 20 points per game, so he's done that 34 times in his career. He's 27-7 straight up and 26-7-1 against the spread, which is the most profitable QB ATS since 2003 in that spot. And that goes when the spread is 4 points or less. He's 16-2 straight up and against the spread. So he likes playing good defense, apparently. Both QBs are good in freezing temperatures. This one, so Chiefs. So they lost the Bills earlier this year. So since 2019, the Chiefs are 24-7 after losing to their current opponent in their last meeting, being 13-4 straight up. And when that is close at favourite by 3 or shorter, or as a dog, they're 9-3. So they do get revenge really well. Interesting. So who the referee is, Cleet Blakeman. In 19 total games he's officiated for Mahomes and Allen, the overs hit 13 out of 19 times. So as we mentioned, that helps your bet, Paul, with the over. And finally, night games usually favour the favourites. So in the regular season, he went 47-12 straight up, which is the best mark since 1971. But in the playoffs, favourites in night games are only 1-4 straight up, having lost 4 in a row since the Ravens beat the Steelers. So favourites in night games are not being great this playoffs, which is being the opposite to the regular season. So watch out the Buffalo Bills carrying on that tradition. And I'll just shout my bet out because I didn't shout my last bet out, by the way, as well. I've got James Cook, 100+ rushing receiving yards at +310. I just think he needs to have a huge game for them to win this game. I think he needs to try and keep him and Allen, keep Kansas on the sideline of the offense and just try and run it down this KC's throat, especially if it's going to be a cold one. Just try and work that clock, punch that ball in, similar to what they did when they played against each other and Josh Allen had the touchdown break in all them tackles. So I think both of them are going to have a huge game.
Excellent. Good stuff. It should be a cracker, this one. I think they both will be good games. It's 2 great ones. So we've got, I think, UK time, 8 o'clock kickoff for Commanders, Eagles, 11:30 p.m. kickoff for Bills, Chiefs, and I've got the Monday off work. Yes. Nice. Excellent. Good stuff. Right. Should we go to our slightly different fourfold challenge? Joe, you have to remind me the rules for this one because obviously we've only got 2 games, so it can't be our standard fare.
Yeah, so we have to choose basically a team against spread, so a favourite or an underdog. We have to choose an over or an under. We have to choose a player for anytime touchdown and then a player prop. So that could be anything, but it's the over under, which is according to whichever betting website we're using. So receiving yards, rushing yards, anything like that.
Okay. Have you built something I can put the props in the sheet?
No. No, so we just have to try and remember them. Didn't get time, I'm afraid. So
when I'm controlling the sheet this week.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you not prepare, Paul? You know, you could have.
Busy man.
Busy man. Excuses.
You didn't start looking after a dog. I feel you should have done that. I'm joking. You do enough for this show, Joe. You do have the first pick, Joe, this week. So what are you going to take?
Oh, I feel like I should really get my game in because the props and all that, there's lots to choose from.
But I think we're all taking that strategy, I think, Joe.
Yeah, I'm going to go... Okay, the one I believe in more, I'm going to go Bills +1.5.
Bills +1.5 against the Chiefs, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. You're going to have to do some talking because I definitely can't do 2 things at once like you can do when we do this.
It's one of them.
I should have saved some of these stats.
Well, no, that's just. Well, I'll do one. I could have done one a bit later on, but yeah, Bills is the one. So I've gone for the both of the underdogs in the games. But Bills are the one I just trust the most. My head of my heart says the Bills, but deep down it's like it feels like it's going to be another disappointing night. Especially like when anyone played the Patriots back in the day, and you just hope like that team could beat them, and it's just like no, it doesn't matter the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter conference championship. They always seem to get that win, and I feel like it's similar with the Chiefs. But I'm just wishing and praying for the Bills, just make it exciting.
I'll tell you what, I think I've done a good job there.
Oh, I'll just put in the chat. That was quick. Yeah, great job.
Yeah, I think you did a pretty good job there. You took the. I don't know if just take the other side of it or not. I will take the. Yeah, I'll just take the Chiefs as my favorite. I don't. Yeah, it's not nice, I know, but I'm just going to take the Chiefs minus the 1.5. I think it's just too short. I'd have been interested in taking Buffalo if it was like, even if it was like 2.5. I might have been interested in taking Buffalo, but I just think it's
really well priced.
Yeah,
it's
and
really tough line.
They've been great. The lines were great last week, weren't they? As well, I think we had the Eagles was a push, and I think a lot of them were pretty. Most
apart from Washington.
Apart from Washington, but I think through the playoffs has been okay. So, but yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs. They're just so strong at home, and I do want Buffalo to do it. I just want to see Buffalo Bills fans in New Orleans for a Super Bowl. Like, they'll just fucking wreck the joint. In the nicest possible way.
And the Bills can just look at that 1-6-1 record and just think, oh, if he's gone for that way, then we've got a chance. That
is true. Maybe I'm doing the right thing by the Bills here by doing this. I did a terrible job of the second one. First one's great. Second one on the screen is awful. I'll try and fix them as we go.
All right.
Yeah, I feel like I need to do it the way Joe does it because he makes it look way better. Because the boxes are bigger, aren't they, Joe, on the screen now because we don't have the guests in anymore.
Yeah.
Very inside baseball, this. Opening up the old kimono. Yeah,
that looks terrible. Joe, you can fix this after.
Byron. I think it was better before you started trying to fix it. I thought it was fine. Anyway, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Paul. I'm going to take Saquon Barkley touchdown, please.
Please tell me you've copied a picture of Saquon across.
I haven't done jack. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I can barely do the talking in the pop trivia. You can't trust me with Canva. I can share the screen.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think Saquon Barkley is the touchdown bet of the week, so I'll just take it there. That looks absolutely fine. Yeah, we can read. So, and we've all got ears, presumably, if we're listening to this podcast. So please don't come at us for this. Oh, look at there he is. Little Saquon.
Joe.
You haven't got a Riverdale gift we could have used, but okay, that's fine. That's really good. Yes, I'm going back at anytime touchdown, and I will also take the Chiefs Bills over 47.5 because no one's taken you guys have already picked your teams. So I'll take the Chiefs Bills over 47.5 points, please. Both lines 47.5. I'd probably lean the under on the other game because I think, like I said, the Eagles are going to try and make it an Ugo game and grind it out as much as they can. Oh, look at that beautiful anytime TD graphic as well. What a world. Is this all you, Paul?
No, that was Joe. I'm doing
thought that was a bit too good, yeah.
It's a good collaboration, this, though.
Yeah, loving it, yeah. Barkley anytime touchdown, over 47.5, Bills at Chiefs, and that is my turned.
Yeah, I'm going to go under in Commanders, Eagles. Under 47.5. I think Eagles are just going to look. You've got to try and slow down Jaden Daniels. Best way to do that is keep him on the sideline by running the fuck out of the ball, basically. I'm really hopeful my Philly special obviously comes in, and to do that, they're going to have to sort of dominate on the ground. I wonder if the Commanders will kind of sell out a bit more to try and stop the run, knowing that maybe Hurts might be struggling a little bit. Passing offense hasn't been great, has it? The last few weeks anyway, and knowing he's banged up. So I wonder if they'll sell out to do that. And maybe the Eagles might have to pass early to open up the run. Who knows? But yeah, I'm going to take the under on that one. I just think it's a big number. it's going to be miserable and freeze. What's the weather report like in Philly? I think it's going to be pretty cold, isn't it? Won't be anything like last week, but yeah, I just like the Eagles to just take a lot of time out of the game, and I think then keeps it low score. I say low scoring. 47 points is still a lot of points, but yeah, I like them to keep it tight. Joe?
Yeah, I'm going to go my anytime TD. I'm going for the man we've talked about a lot. I'm going Travis Kelce. We've said why. Another interesting fact, he's only 2 touchdowns away from Jerry Rice's record from the most touchdowns in the playoff history. So he only needs 2 more, and I think he'll get one at the weekend, just because he's the main guy. I'm going to go my player prop next. This is a bit left field, but I'm going to do receiving yards, and I'm going to go for the guy who's going to get revenge on Nick Sirianni for shouting him out. It is Zach Ertz, and it's over 32.5 receiving yards, which I think is a decent number. I think, like we said, with the cornerbacks, the Eagles are going to try and cover the main 2 wide receivers in McLaurin and Brown. The pass rush is great, so I think Ertz is going to be that comfort blanket for Jaden Daniels, and 32.5 is not too much. And like you said, if it's cold, he's going to do a lot of short, so I can see him getting 5 or 6 receptions and getting 40 or 50 receiving yards and sticking it to Nick Sirianni at the end of the game.
Excellent. I'm going to go... Saquon's already on the board. Oh, he's moved. Can I get my yard back? He's on the thing as 100. I've got it in my bet for 130.5, but it's showing 131.5. All right, I'll take 131.5. I think that's
the longest over under rushing yard of the season as well, by the way.
Yeah,
for anybody.
Yeah, give me Saquon over 131.5 rushing yards. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Saquon. How could it not be? Yeah, the man's a machine. Was it 200 last week? 205 is the 2,000 yards. Obviously, went over 2,000 yards. Yeah, over 130. It is a lot of yards. But if Saquon isn't running that ball 25 times, something's wrong.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't go, because I was tempted to go the Russian receiving yards, which is 147.5. But yeah, Russian makes sense. Do you mean Russian yards as well, Paul? That'd be good if he gets receiving yards.
That's what I meant. Thank you. Hey, it's hard doing this.
If it's receiving, I'll give you the 130.5. And also, I'd like to commend that honesty as well, because you could have just said it's over 130.5. We don't know what bookie you're looking at. We wouldn't have checked it, but I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah, I was just bet free. So I'd say when I only placed the Philly special bet earlier, and it was 130.5. So it's changed. Maybe I've moved the needle. How big my units stay? No, I'm joking.
Let's not talk about how big our units are. That seems very uncouth.
For this show, it's a family show.
Yeah, exactly.
Byron, you still need a side and a prop.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Eagles -6. I not like it. Go Birds. No, I really want Commanders to be in the Super Bowl. I'd love to see the Eagles have egg on the face. I just don't think they're going to. I think the defense is too good, and I think that O-line is too much of a bully. So I think the Eagles are going to win, and I think they're going to do it by more than 6 points, which sucks. But hopefully that one's wrong at least. We'll take that. And my prop is going to be, can I have a longest reception over-under? It is an over-under.
If it's an over-under, yeah.
Cool. I'll go AJ Brown, longest reception, over-under, over 22.5 yards.
What you've not thought about is how that's going to, fit in the box on the sheet, though, have you? So, selfish.
Yep.
Joe, can you get me a picture of AJ Brown?
That's absolutely right, and I apologise. Yeah, as long as anytime touchdowns also fine.
22.5 yards, whatever.
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, but look at that. Ah, just get out the yes.
Okay. There we go.
Beautiful job. Wonderful.
Thank you. Oh, it's me. What do I need? Anytime, Josh Allen. Josh Allen, anytime touchdown scorer is where I'm going. Can you get me a picture of Josh Allen, please? Just because.
Not Josh Hines Allen, crucially, although that would be very funny.
Yeah, Josh Allen I'm going with. Yeah, just why not? Feel like he's going to have to shoulder a lot in this game, I think. Obviously, Shakir's been great consistently. They've got bits out of other people. James Cook's had a great season. Feel kind of just the way this Chiefs defense is. Josh Allen's going to need to do a lot to keep them around in this one. So yeah, Josh Allen, anytime touchdown scorer for me.
Awesome. I've gone over or under, and you've both taken what I think is going to happen, which is not great. Let's go for points. Let's go Commanders Eagles over 47.5. Let's hope for something more exciting than wanting not many points in the game of the year. So let's go over Commanders Eagles, and I have to cheer on Barkley running for an 80-yard touchdown to put the points.
Help us all
on
out.
there.
Help us all out. Excellent. I've not priced this up on the way, sorry, because I could only concentrate on the two things at once. They'll all be around 12-1. We'll get them. They'll be on our post. When we post it on Sunday, I imagine it'll be Sunday afternoon.
This might be my shortest one ever because Barkley's like minus 200.
Well, they'll be different with the anytime touchdowns, actually.
Yeah, it'll be quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, yours shouldn't be too bad. I think yours will both be around minus 150, 100-ish. But yeah, Barkley was minus 230 on DraftKings. So
yeah, I forgot that.
Mine's probably going to be the shortest one we've ever had.
Yeah, that is going to skew it. So yeah, maybe it'll be closer to like 9s, 10s-1, maybe. Yeah, Joe, yours should be okay, I think. I don't know. Yeah. I'll work it out. We'll maybe it'll be worth
so mine's 1527. So it'll be around that mark.
Oh. Sorry, it's what?
We're both trying.
That one on, yeah.
Excellent. The last couple of bits before we hand over to our guest to finish off. We've got our ATS picks. We've talked about the games a lot. Me and Joe are riding with the Commanders +6 against the Eagles. Byron is hoping he hears fly Eagles fly. Not really though, right?
No, not really.
And then I've gone with the Chiefs, the Evil Empire, -1.5, and Byron and Joe are on the Buffalo Bills. I've just done this on here to give Buffalo a chance. Because when we're all on the same team, we suck. We always get it wrong. So if we're all in Buffalo, I felt like that's the wrong thing to do. And I would have felt somewhat personally responsible. But let's go Buffalo.
Very good of you.
I am, yeah. I want the Bills there. I want Bills Mafia going through tables on Bourbon Street. That's what I want.
And it's snowing there at the minute, It's looking like Buffalo.
Very Buffalo-like conditions, yeah, in New Orleans at the minute. Fantasy Game Day. Still rolling into the playoffs. Only 2 games to pick your teams from this week, so very tricky, but there are still the individual standalone ballers games as well. The UK's fastest growing and best by a mile NFL daily fantasy platform. You can still join if you've not. Give it a go. Why not? No time like the present. Use promo code COVER. You'll receive a free entry after your first play. Got to be 18 years or over to enter. Must be in the UK, and please gamble responsibly. Obviously, much shorter slate this week with only 2 games, so tough. I'll start. I've just gone Patrick Mahomes is the cheapest quarterback, so I've taken Patrick Mahomes. I was feeling the playoffs. I might not necessarily have the numbers, but I feel like it might be a bit of a high-scoring game, this one, so you might get some value in Mahomes. And he's liable to break one with his legs as well in the playoffs, so you might get some value. Like you might get a sneaky Patrick Mahomes rushing touchdown as well, which obviously help. Obviously, far more likely to come from the other 3 quarterbacks, but if you can get one at 6,000 where the other three are priced, I think that sets you up real well. Guys, who have you gone for? Byron, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I've gone the other end of the price scale. I've gone the most expensive, Josh Allen. Again, expecting points. Rushing beast. Good get to have a touchdown. Scored 25 fantasy points when these two last played. So, it's Josh Allen. How much we need to say? And Joe?
Yeah, I think I came into the dock at the end, so I either Daniels or Hurts. I went Daniels. I just think he's got... I just worry about Hurts' injury and passing yards. I think both of them can score touchdowns. Obviously, Hurts is would be best placed with his with touch pushes, but I think Jane Daniels is going to have a big game in the air as well because they can't run the ball as we've mentioned. So it's 7,600. The wide receiver, I've kept it the same as it was last week. I've gone for Shakir again against KC at 4,400. He had a decent game last week. He had plenty of yards. He didn't get that touchdown, but it just feels like that's where the connection is. If it's not one of the running backs or the tight end, it's going to Shakir, even with Coleman and Cooper and all of them. It just feels like it's not working out with Cooper. So Shakir is their true number one, and they might have to throw it a little bit more further than 10 yards like they did last week. So Shakir could be a big player with plenty of receptions at 4,400.
Excellent. You've gone for the Chiefs, I suppose, big play threat, I guess. Speedster, Byron?
Yeah, Xavier Worthy had 5 catches last week, 45 yards, no touchdown, but they seem to be trying to get him more involved. A bit like Rashee Rice last year, he got more involved as the season went along. And again, when you look at Marquise Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, neither of them really doing too much. I think it'll be a big tight end game. Kelsey, Noah Gray, but I think Worthy is worthy of putting in your lineup this week. 5,400 is not cheap, but he's in that nice price range where if he does pop off with a touchdown, a big play or two, he'll certainly pay off for that price. And you've gone for, is that a wide receiver I see there?
Wide receiver Travis Kelce. Yeah, I struggled with the wide receivers this week, so I was like, I'm just going to put Kelce in for obvious reasons. He's 5,000. Obviously, he's the top of the tight end market, and he's going to have the biggest production game as a receiver for the Chiefs in the playoffs because it's January. It's Mahomes to Kelce. That's just what happens. Chasing some Jerry Rice records as well. I fully expect him to have a good game. Probably hit his overs. So I'll take Kelce. And then I've just gone down the cheap end, running back. Joe's just commented, do we not fancy any? We've got apart from Jane Daniels, we've got nobody from the Eagles Commanders game. I've taken Ty Johnson, 2006. I think, Byron, you're probably the same logic or thought process as me. Every now and then, Ty Johnson just has one of these massive receiving games out the backfield. Maybe the Bills need something like this to so it's not just all on Josh Allen. Like Keon Coleman, Shakir's obviously the most reliable one. Cooper's not got going, as you mentioned, Joe. Keon Coleman is in fits and spurts. Kincaid's just been a big giant disappointment, really, hasn't he, so far? Knox is reliable, but doesn't get big stuff. So I feel like someone's going to need to step up here for Buffalo, and this kind of feels like one of them spots where Ty Johnson can just have like 5 receptions for 8 yards and a touchdown, and a few rushes just kind of out of nowhere. So it is just a real taking a shot, but I've gone Ty Johnson.
Yeah, and like you said, similar thought process. I went Ray Davis, £200 cheaper. Sorry, got my Yankee head on there. I think all 3 of these running backs kind of look like they've been shot out of a cannon, especially in the playoffs. All 3 of them seem to be. Anytime they get the ball, I'm like, oh yeah, he looks good. Which I didn't really expect to see from Ty Johnson, who's been much more of a receiving threat. But the 2 vying for the backup role to Cook. They all get usage, as does Josh Allen in the running game. So it's hard to guarantee anything, but I like all 3 of them. James Cook obviously comes in at a higher price point because he's much better and gets a lot more volume. And he's got a fuck ton of touchdowns this year, James Cook. What's he got? Like 18 touchdowns, something along those lines? Might not be that many, but it's a lot. And that's why he's more expensive and why Joe has probably picked him. Unless you want to say any more, Joe.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, if everyone use our recommendations, they've just got the Buffalo backfield and just hoping Josh Allen doesn't pass it, and it's just runs just throughout the game. I've got James Cook. I think he looks like he's getting better and better as the season goes on. And I think if you like, when you look at the running backs this season, there's obviously been the higher class of Barkley and Derrick Henry, but I feel like Cook now slots into the level below with like Bijan himself, maybe Josh Jacobs, like around that, where he's like at that second level now, and I think he's made big improvements. And like I mentioned with the bet, I think they have to lean on him heavily in the passing game and the running game in order to beat this Kansas City Chiefs team. And it's going to be cold, so you're just going to try and run it as much as possible. And, the scary threat of Allen is going to help all of our picks to get them yards and maybe an extra second where the defense just sees if that big quarterback keeps the ball.
Excellent. Good stuff. That is Fantasy Game Day. Go join. Use the promo code COVER. Get involved. There'll be another one for the Super Bowl. Have some fun, maybe win some money. We're on a good run. I think kind of 3 of the last 4 weeks with cash, so doing a good job. I think that's because Byron's in control of the lineups at the minute. Gents, that brings us to the end of our portion of the show. We'll be handing over to myself with Matt from the UK Bills and the Red, White and Buffalo Blue podcast. Great guest. He's been on before a couple of times. So, listen to us chat through the Bills' chances against the Chiefs and enjoy Championship weekend, guys. Byron and Joe, have a good one. And here's me with Matt from the Bills UK. To finish off our Conference Championship preview episode, we're joined by a fantastic guest, friend of the show, returning guest, Matt from the UK Bills and also the Red, White and Buffalo Blue podcast. Matt, Bills are in the Conference Championship and you're back on Good Teams and Great Teams cover. First of all, how have you been? How are you doing?
Well, it's been a good week. I come back on the show, come back talk about the championship. But yeah, no, it's actually going quite well. Actually, it's given us a bit of a pep, a bit of a boost, and all that. So yeah, it's all good.
Nice, excellent. So you are our resident Buffalo Bills expert. I think you've been on. This is your 3rd time you've been on. We were just talking before we started recording. There, you were last on during the preview for the season when we did our look at the AFC East. What have you got going on in the mix? I know obviously you've got to run the UK Bills page. You've got obviously the podcast as well. Kind of what have you got, guys? What have you guys got coming up?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think this season we hit a milestone with the podcast. That we hit 300 episodes in, I think it was September, October time. So that's still going strong on there. You can find it at the Red, White, Buffalo Blues on all podcast platforms and on X or Twitter, however you still want to pronounce it. I still think of it as Twitter. We've got quite a few things going on. I mean, we've had a couple of meetups. Obviously, we've got places in London and Manchester, which hopefully will be we'll be showing games and all that. Little sub-stary groups, if you want to call it that, that host games on there. And I think our lot in Manchester, they've recently been having the Hollywood actor William Fichtner join them.
Nice.
And he is a huge Buffalo Bills fan, so he's been joining them up in the Manchester lot every so often, and it's actually made a trip down to London to hang with the London Bills for a game. So got a few contacts and all that, but we got a lot on, and say with the group we just continue growing, and hopefully now the success, since the success of McDermott and B when they come on, and we've just seen that growth. Hopefully, when we get through to Super Bowl and win it, it'll actually grow us even more and really build the community here in the United Kingdom.
Yes, I mean the Buffalo Bills fans in general are a very, very special bunch. Bills Mafia, whether that's across in Buffalo, around the USA, or even here in the UK as well. What's the kind of the excitement level been throughout the season? Because maybe expectations were a little bit tempered for this year or played down a little bit. It had been branded, not necessarily by the Bills, but maybe by the media, that this might be a bit of a rebuilding year for the Buffalo Bills. That's been far from the case. How has it been kind of as each step of the season's gone by?
I think I think you speak to most Bills Mafia, maybe they will say that maybe the championship game could be that one step a little bit too far, and they'll be happy with divisional game. Obviously, knowing what we lost, especially on offense. I mean, when you lose Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, obviously Davis is not doing very well anymore in Jacksonville this year, and obviously Diggs is out of his ACL, or obviously, and you've had Mitch Morse with the Jags. When you lose three key veteran pieces, and you brought in the likes of Curtis Samuel, Mac Hollins, MVS until we cut him, and obviously then traded in for Cooper, you kind of think, yeah, you are looking into that rebuild year, and with a first-year rookie defensive coordinator in Bob Babich, who has come up through the ranks, actually been the defensive back coach, linebacker coach, and all that. Yeah, the expectations were tempered a little bit. There was a small rebuild in there, but obviously you just listen to all the media out there saying, "Oh yeah, they've got no talent. They've actually got they're as you say, in a rebuild. They're not going to amount for anything. They're going to be underdogs. They're going to finish third or fourth in the division, and all that." And then we wrap up the division in December. We're actually the first team to clinch the division this season in the first day of December, pretty much. And you just see this team go from strength to strength, and just looking at the whole team. We've had so many injuries on that defense, and yet we've not been blown out in games. The only blowout game we really had was the Week 4 game against the Ravens. That when we were missing Bernard, Milano, Teron Johnson, so a spine there. The fact that most games we've actually won at a canter, especially on offense, when we've won 10 games of 30 plus, scoring 30 plus points, being one of the highest scoring offenses in the whole of NFL. You could just see the expectation of, and I said it on our show, that 11 wins probably would be the expectation on there, but to get to win the division at a canter with 13 wins is actually even better. And obviously getting to the championship game, it's a free for all. It's 0-1. It's 0-0 now.
Well, that's it. Yeah, kind of what you've done in the regular season goes out the window, doesn't it? At this point, is there a belief this time? Because I think like over the last few years, we've got to this stage with Buffalo, and it always seems to end the same way, or it has done. How's the belief this time that this is going to be different? Is it in the way that kind of the plays changed, and we've seen maybe a different Josh Allen this year? It's still an incredible one, but a little bit different from Josh Allen, especially kind of in those big games and big moments? Or what is it that's driving the belief this time that this can be different from the last 3 or 4 years where they've been so close?
I think you look at it and you go back to the first few years of McDermott and Bean, and what they tried to install as and relate to Buffalo as the blue collar, hard working team, and actually just push that into their DNA. This year, we've seen probably the best side of Josh Allen we've seen in a while. Could it be a case that it was the Joe Brady effect? He come in, he's actually simplified it. We've got Aaron Cromer on that defensive line that have actually come up, and you just see how mistake-free he is. He's playing probably the best football, and obviously everyone knows that this whole MVP argument between him and Lamar on there. Obviously, Lamar won it last year with having worse stats than Josh. Apparently, he's going to win it this year because his stats are better than Josh. You can't have it both ways. But I just think it's the togetherness and actually the next man up mentality, especially on this defense, which is actually which has really been brought into by the players. And one example of that is one of our undrafted guys that we actually brought in, Joe Andreessen, Buffalo Joe as we call him, from the University of Buffalo. Came in and he started a couple of games at Mike linebacker and actually ran the show. And on occasions where he's actually started, he's been the top tackler. I think I think it was either one of the last 2 games he played for like 4. He played just the 4th quarter, and he actually was finished a top tackler for the Bills. So it's that mentality that McDermott's put in, and I think now what we're seeing on offense with the everybody eats mantra and just Josh playing mistake-free football. I think he's only had 1 interception or 1 or 2 interceptions since week 11. You go all that time, and you just see the maturity on there. And me and my colleague on the podcast, we did say that the MVP of the season should be Haley Steinfeld, Josh's fiance. Since he's been with her, since he's been engaged, he's actually everything's just taken off on that.
Yeah, it's calmed down, maybe just relax a little bit. I think there was a real key example of that, and I guess we'll jump into talking about last week's game against the Ravens first. I think it was a real key example of that game against the Ravens last week, where I think it was 3rd and 2. They were driving to kill the game, really. A touchdown kills the game at that point to go 2 scores up. And he runs straight into the Ravens win at the line of scrimmage, runs into that defensive front, and he gets turned around. I think Josh Allen of before tries to flip that ball back to James Cook or do something, and instead you can see the cogs turning in his head, and he just opts against it, wraps the ball up, takes the tackle, they kick the 3, go up 8, and then, I know the Ravens score, but it's like, well, let the defense play. And whereas before, I think if that's 12 months earlier, Josh Allen's trying to find a way to flip that ball out or do something.
It reminded me of one of his first playoff games when we played the Texans. I can't remember if it was, I think it was probably wild card. Back in one of the first few years he actually started, where he actually decided to try and do a lateral, which actually went to nowhere, and I think we lost. I can't remember what the result of the play was, but he lost it or intercept or it fumbled or something like that, and it got returned back. And since then, you see that there is mistakes in there, but you can now see that he's worked hard on correcting those mistakes, getting the right footwork, getting the right technique. And as I say, having Joe Brady there to simplify the book, and what people don't forget, that when Joe Brady took over in week 11 last year, he was still running Ken Dorsey's playbook, obviously entering a few plays in himself. And after when Brady came in on the last year, the Bills just shot up a lot more. And that's using the same playbook. And obviously Dorsey's been fired this year from his offensive coordinator position in Cleveland. So it kind of shows that Allen, with the right tutelage, if that's the right word to describe it, with the right guidance and actually the right type of playbook, can actually get you those yards, can give you those plays. And obviously he's statistically this year is the cleanest quarterback and still breaking so many records.
Yeah, I think we've noticed like definitely that big change in his game, which has certainly helped things, and take maybe, like say, what was considered potentially a rebuilding season to something so much more. I was really interested in the comments that he made after the game last week against the Ravens, but just before I ask you about them, the game itself, how did it feel like coming out on the right side of one of those close playoff games? Because so often in the last few years, the Bills have been on the wrong side of those kind of close results in the postseason. How did it feel to be on the right side of one for once?
It actually did feel quite good. I mean, obviously, when they went down, there was still like 1 minute 33 left on the clock. And I think the Bills still had like two timeouts left or something like that. So there was that gentle ease there that, okay, they'll score it. We just have to go a certain amount of time. Ravens, I don't think had any timeouts. Bills had a couple. Just get down enough to get Tyler Bass into field goal range. Then we would start worrying. Once Tyler Bass gets into field goal range, because he has been a bit hit and miss on there. Obviously, he did hit a 61-yarder, but he's missed a few 30, 40 yarders in there. So that's the only time that really we would get a bit worried. But I think after going down, and then at halftime when we had that chance to double dip and we went 3 and out in that third quarter, I think that's where small doubts come in, saying, can this offense really adapt to what Baltimore are actually doing on defense? And can this defense continue to adapt? And I think I read somewhere that their game plan was to keep the ball in Lamar's hand and actually take out Derrick Henry. Not in the sense of taking him out. Do the whole NFL great favor with that, but taking him out and actually restricting what he can do. And that showed in the fact that I think the Ravens got under 100, if you take out Lamar Jackson, got under 100 yards rushing out of their running backs.
And I suppose that was a big change. The third quarter was different. But third quarter was where the Ravens seemed to really start to get rolling with that running game that they struggled with in the first half. It felt like they were going to take over. How has that defense done it? Because the defense has been, I suppose, there's a couple of games, obviously, I suppose the Lions and Rams games put to one side, but it has been a fairly strong unit. It's got some key players back that you mentioned as well. How did that kind of defense manage to adapt then, especially during that? Because that could have been a crisis quarter where you've just gone, we can't stop the Ravens here. How did that sort of defense manage to adapt?
It seems like they do it quite often. I think the game plan's always been the fact that the first quarter, maybe a bit of the second quarter, they just play as it is. They gauge what the offense is actually giving in terms of looks, plays, and all that, and then make those adjustments at halftime. So, in essence, and it shows up in the stats, that we're more of a second half team, especially on defense, than we are in the first half. The fact that we almost let the opposition in that first half, so then you can just go, right, they do this often, and then make that adjustment. We know we've been poor against the run on there. Our two defensive tackles, Oliver and Jones, haven't had the best season on run fronts, and obviously doesn't help that you miss Bernard and Milano and Taron Johnson for periods. But it's just the way that I think it's the motivation. It's just the you're in the divisional round, a chance to go to the AFC Championship game, one more step to Super Bowl. I think it's just that mentality really, and just those small little adjustments that you pick up from the games, from the offense in the first half, saying, okay, they like to run this formation a lot more. This is how we're going to actually going to adapt to it.
Matt Milano's a huge difference maker. He's missed so much time the last couple of years, kind of with injury. How much more confident are you in that defense than once kind of a leader like Matt Milano's back in it?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of confidence in that. I mean, obviously most people outside of the Bills and Bills Mafia actually won't know this, but even Dorian Williams, our third round pick out Tulane a couple of years ago, he's actually stepped in when Milano's been out, and he's played lights out as well. So it's almost like we haven't missed a beat too much with Milano going out, but you just can't really substitute what Milano brings to this team, to the aggression, the sideline to sideline, the fact that once he's on the field, him and Bernard together, you do not know which one that you want to actually to look out for and protect, because you cover one, the other guy is actually going to break through that line. And let's say those two in unison actually work a very good pairing and work extremely hard for the cause.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Milano have kind of a couple of especially key plays. He kind of forced the interception from Lamar in the first half. Obviously press it, coming rushing the quarterback, and then the second, he tips the first 2-point conversion. And when you look at kind of the score, the game finish, that was pivotal in kind of the way the game ended. Mentioned already, Josh Allen talked after the game, the divisional round game against the Ravens, and was sort of going along the lines of, we've been doubted, we've been told we're not big enough, we're not strong enough, we don't have enough talent. I kind of felt that narrative went away from the Buffalo Bills after kind of quite early in the season. That's just from my perspective, obviously looking at it as a neutral, I suppose. I'm being a Cowboys fan, I guess I'm a neutral when it comes to the Bills. because they show how good the Bills are. But he seemed to, the way he described it, it's almost like that's been like pin it up in the locker room material every week. Is that how it's felt from your perspective as a fan?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, when you look at most of these analysts and all that, they always want to, in a word, not, I wouldn't say really put down, but belittle Josh a lot more because of what he's lost. They go on the loss rather than what's on gained, and yet they fail to see the progression and how this offense has become a lot better when it's actually being fed to multiple channels rather than, okay, it's Allen to Diggs, Allen to Diggs, Allen to Diggs, Allen to Diggs. Right, you take out Diggs, Allen to Davis. Oh, he's dropped it. Allen to Shakir. Okay, that one's continued into this year. But with this one and the amount of talent of Knox, Kincaid, Hollins, Samuel, Shakir, Coleman, Cooper, James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, that's what 10 names already there that actually have made that difference into that offense. And I think they look at, in my opinion, they look at the talent as in big names. So looking at Diggs and Davis, they were actually the big name receivers for the Bills the last few years. They've gone, they've lost their big play talent. They're not going to actually to work there. And yeah, the narrative probably wore off as well. But the Bills Mafia don't hold a few grudges and hold those receipts ready to be aired out. And obviously there was a load going around before the Ravens game about one of the media or independent media actually calling Buffalo a city of losers, and yet we donated when they found out his mum died of cancer. The Bills Mafia donated a load of money to the charity in honor of his mum. And even after the game, obviously there was apparently rumors that Mark Andrews was receiving death threats from Baltimore fans. Yeah. Bills Mafia raised £50,000 for his charity. So it's there, and this is what the media see. Some of the media are on board with it. Some of the media actually see it and actually really embrace it. But majority of them, they just see. They see Lamar, they see Patrick, they see Joe Burrow, they see them as elite, and Josh and Bills as pretty much, what's the best word? Pretty much just like the bridesmaid. Let's put it that way, rather than the bride.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's a good segue for our next part. Then we're going to start talking about the game on Sunday. It's the AFC Championship. It's the Chiefs against the Bills. The Bills have had great success against the Chiefs in the regular season.
Yeah.
I think I suppose since Josh Allen came, so we've had this Mahomes v. Allen. Bills have won 3 regular season games in Arrowhead at Kansas City in Kansas. You beat them in the regular season in Buffalo this year, but in the playoffs, the Chiefs, the 3 times they've met in the playoffs, twice at Arrowhead, once at I would call it Orchard Park, because that's just my automatic thought.
We call it the Ralph, so we can call it the Rich Wilson Stadium, Highmark, Orchard Park. Doesn't matter what you call it.
But yeah, twice in Kansas, once in Buffalo. The Chiefs and Mahomes have got the upper hand when it's come to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
How confident are you feeling going into this one? I think the Bills are just underdogs, they're 1.5 point underdogs on the road. How are you feeling about going against the Chiefs one more time?
I think this year there's a little bit more confidence in this, in what we can do in Kansas on there. I mean, obviously beating them in the regular season, it seems like the last few years is the norm for the Bills, and obviously this year we've beaten obviously the Lions, we've beaten obviously the Ravens, beating the Chiefs and all that. We've played those big games, and I think you just see the confidence growing each week, and they have a game plan which they executed in that first game, but it's just it's the narrative we were speaking earlier about how they're going to adapt, because obviously the Chiefs team since that week have got a little bit better. Okay, they still scraped a few games by the odd score in the last 2 minutes and all that, but playoff Chiefs are just a different kettle of fish, and I think the hurt and the experience of the 13-second game, and all of that really is drummed into this team, and I think that there is going to be the adjustments, and I think going in there as the underdogs, going in there as a team that pretty much everyone in America wants to win out of the two, makes us really gives us a bit of confidence. But as much as I want to say that I'm actually extremely nervous about it, I think just having the season that we've had so far with the injuries, with the first year coordinators, with loss of key players like Trey White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde, even though Micah Hyde's back on the practice squad on defense, the fact that there has been that soft rebuild and we've got this far, a part of me wants to be extremely nervous that we'll actually get handled and we'll potentially see Mahomes go for the three-peats. But it could be that one time where you've just got to be calm and just know the expectation is you've done what you need to do. There's no pressure on you to get over that hurdle. So I think that's what McDermott's actually putting in on there. And I think, as we said about Josh Allen's with his remarks after the Ravens game, I think that's the kind of outlook they're looking at. They're saying no one really gives us a chance on there, so they can go into Arrowhead playing with a little less of an expectation of actually going in and dominating and getting through to the playoffs or getting through to the Super Bowl. And I think that really just tempers the nerves. Well, at least for me, I can't say for many other Bills Mafia, how this game's really going to go.
I suppose for you then, kind of seeing it, what do you think are the key battles? Where is it that the Bills have to win? Which matchups do the Bills have to win to be able to go into Arrowhead and beat the Kansas City Chiefs?
It's in the trenches. I think it's more or less in the trenches. I mean, the game in Buffalo, we didn't have Spencer Brown, and Spencer Brown this year has actually just increased his portfolio and become probably one of the better right tackles in the league. This offensive line in the regular season, the interior especially with McGovern, with Edwards and O'Torrance, never gave up pressure or a sack on Josh Allen. The fact that Josh Allen was probably the cleanest quarterback out of every single quarterback, only sacked 14 times in the regular season, even in the playoffs, only got sacked like a handful of times. Nothing against the Ravens. That's going to be the key. I mean, Spencer Brown versus Chris Jones is going to be the key matchup on there. Deion Dawkins on the left is Deion Dawkins. He's superhuman on that side, and he's actually Mr. Consistent. But you've got to look at Spencer Brown versus Chris Jones really on that right-hand side as you're going to be your key, because we all know Chris Jones is a complete game wrecker and drive wrecker. All that. So that's one thing to look out for. But it's just how the Bills can work that trenches, especially on the defense, because the Chiefs do like to run a little bit more. And obviously with Pacheco and Hunt, they've got their own light version of Montgomery and Gibbs of the Chiefs of the Lions. Sorry. So that's the key, is to win in the trenches on both sides for the Bills.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this one to see these two teams renew rivalries. Look, I've been sat on a Chiefs to win the Super Bowl ticket since I don't know, July, maybe even it might have even been the day after the Super Bowl last year. But I certainly took another one in July, August. But I'd happily tear that up for the Buffalo Bills to get to the Super Bowl. The betting head and the heart are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see the Bills get there. I just think the Bills. I don't think there's a better place or a better city for the Bills to go to a Super Bowl for the first time in such a long time than New Orleans. Just the Bills Mafia on Bourbon Street, I think, would be a sight to behold.
I think they need to pretty much cordon off it, and actually, I think Bills Mafia would take it over for about 5 days straight. To be honest, the fact that we travel so well,
and that's before the game. Just imagine to get to the Super Bowl.
That is, yes, yeah, exactly.
They won't get Bills Mafia out of New Orleans, I don't think. But give us a prediction, then. Give us a score prediction for the game on Sunday, Matt.
Well, I think it's going to be a Bills win. I mean, there was an interesting fact that I saw earlier that back in the 60s, when the Bills won their only championships, and they won back-to-back, in 67, the Chiefs actually beat them as they were going for the three-peat. And then they went on to win the first ever Super Bowl that year. I feel history is going to repeat itself this year. The Bills are going to stop the Chiefs from getting the three-peat. Score-wise, it's going to be a decent scoring game. I'm probably going to go 31-24. 31-24 Bills.
31-24 Bills. That hit me over as well.
Yeah, and hoping that the Commanders beat the the Eagles, so we can have our revenge rematch of '92. I think I did mention it to you before we actually before we came on the show.
Yeah. I think that's the one. That's the popular choice. I think people want to see that. I think that would give us the best game or the most entertaining game from a Super Bowl perspective. Bills 31-24. Hopefully it happens for you, Matt. We appreciate you coming back on Good Teams Win Great Teams cover. Just give us a shout out again where we can follow the UK Bills and also the Red, White and Buffalo Blue podcast. Yeah,
you can find us. You can find the podcast, the Red, White and Buffalo Blues. We're in our 300 episodes. We're on like 316 episodes at the moment. You can find us on all your major podcast platforms. I hate saying that word, too many P's at the start. And you can find us at RWBB_ podcast on X. You can follow us on UK_Bills on Twitter, on Instagram, and Blue Sky. We do have a Facebook group, which is Buffalo Bills UK, and on there is a link to our UK Bills WhatsApp group. And I have to give a warning that if there's any Bills fans thinking of joining that, to enter at their own risk. Let's put it that way.
Good stuff. And there'll be meetups for the games in London and Manchester this week.
Yeah, there is the London Bills, which come off of us. They've actually got they've got their own little mini chapter up with going for the Fitzrover Bell. You just need to search them up. I think they're LDN Bills or something on X, and I think they have registration, but will accept walk-ins if they're full up. And then the Manchester lot, which I think they are in the Brotherhood of Pursuit, I think, up in Manchester. So they'll be up on there, and we try to expand our horizon, expand the group and all that. So even if there's not even if you're not near London or Manchester, I will say hold tight, because I'm working on actually growing into other areas, so we get more regional groups and more fans to get together to actually to cheer on the Bills.
Excellent, good stuff. Well, thanks again, Matt, for joining us. If you're a Buffalo Bills fan who's not been involved with the groups yet, go get involved. It's great, absolutely no doubt, a great community to be a part of and a great set of fans to be involved with. Best of luck on Sunday. We're all hoping you defeat the evil empire. That brings an end to our show for the Conference Championship Sunday, our Conference Championship preview. Follow along on all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube. You can follow the show on Spotify as well to get you new episodes when they drop. But yeah, keep an eye out for all our bet posts for the week. Obviously, there's only a couple of games now, but keep an eye. Rough week last week for the guys, but we'll be back strong this week, no doubt, with some winners. And thanks very much for joining, and enjoy Conference Championship Sunday, everyone.